Look, I'm going to be real here. I have talked enough about Stephanie White, and I kind of want to just give a little more context to my argument because it's one of those things where I cannot stress enough. The whole Stephanie White is ruining Caitlin Clark. I think there's merit to that argument. There's a lot of merit to that argument. I think the argument to Stephanie White is sabotaging Caitlin Clark. There's no merit to that. No merit whatsoever. Why is there no merit whatsoever to that? Because they literally drew up a play for Caitlin Clark to tie the game. Stephanie White is not trying to lose games. There's a reason why, even when Stephanie White is doing or even Caitlin Clark is doing the opposite of what Stephanie White wants her to do, if it's working, she's not going to sub her off. She'll just be pissed off on the sideline. She's still not going to sub her off because I think she knows that you can't, and she knows sometimes trying to win games, you gotta feed the hot hand. And she's not going to give it to Kelsey, who missed all her threes, other than the one before that. She's going to let the person who hit 4 threes in the fourth quarter shoot the last 3. And that's where the whole sabotaging has gone. But what I'm going to say here is Stephanie White does not want Caitlin Clark as to coach Caitlin Clark. The player, not the person. Stephanie White, not the person, not the collection of skill set that Caitlin Clark has. Stephanie White wants Caitlin Clark to fit into her system, run her set offenses, dump the ball in, be an off the ball player, and basically play as a cog in a motion offense. Do you want to know why that is? And I listened back on the blessing in disguise quote, and I listened to the full quote, and I actually got a full, you can kind of hear what Stephanie White says. She basically repeated what Carolyn Peck says, that she said, we're much harder to scout without Caitlin Clark. And this is why she doesn't want Caitlin Clark. And if you guys don't know how Caitlin Clark's philosophy of basketball, and by the way, if you are absolutely the best in the world at any philosophy of basketball, you can win. You can absolutely win. Caitlin Clark has not bought into Stephanie White's system whatsoever. We're not fully bought in. But even not fully buying in, what is it causing the system? Worse spacing, players in worse positions, the ball ending up in people's hands that shouldn't be dribbling. No system should have Lexi Hull taking up the ball. Because it should be Caitlin, Kelsey, or Leah. They don't run to or through Caitlin or Leah enough. They've stopped running through Caitlin. And that's the difference here. Is the Stephanie White motion offense is an equal opportunity offense that doesn't run through any players. And ironically, if players don't stay aggressive, the Steph White offense is literally, and I'm not talking about quick hitters. There is a difference between style of playing quick hitters. Like the Indiana Fever run a couple of quick hitters to get Caitlin, to get Kelsey open. That's fine. Every team should have some quick hitters. I'm talking about the overall tactics and overall system that they want to play. So, Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark wants to blitzkrieg opponents. Caitlin Clark wants the ball in the basket, whether it be her or somebody else, before the other team can set up on defense. Caitlin Clark's philosophy is, if we are relentless, they won't stop us. And up to this point in their WNBA career, that has been factually correct. Whenever the Indiana Fever have been aggressive, not passive, they've looked like one of the best teams in the league. They were passive in the playoffs in 2025. They were passive coming into the playoffs. Were in a bit of bad form. Teams struggle to stop an aggressive Indiana Fever. That being said, there is a flaw to that, and it's if a team can stop it, you can either shoot badly, or if a team can slow you down, you can struggle. The way Steph White views basketball is we want to win the chess match. So if you guys don't know, Steph White is a master scouter. And it's the reason why Caitlin Clark was so happy with Steph White. Caitlin felt that Steph scouted her better than anyone else. And she did. She absolutely did. Stephanie White is a master game planner. She is a master scouter. Not obviously player scouter, but like other team scouter. She is absolutely elite at game planning, at going in with a tactic. The problem is, she's elite at it on the defensive end. But the Indiana Fever are a team of complete and utter dog shit defenders. There is not one good defender on the Indiana Fever outside of Raven Johnson, who statistically has been one of the worst defenders in the WNBA this season, when she's been on the floor. She'll be a good defender, I've no doubt about that. Right now, she's not. She's not a great defender anyway. So that's all thrown out the window. But on the offensive end, what Stephanie White wants to do is run an offense where any of the 5 players at any given time can be a creator, can be a shooter, can be a slasher, can be a scorer, can post up. We are seeing them run post up plays for Lexi. That is what Stephanie White wants. Why? Because if anyone has the ability to score, if anyone has the ability to create, you cannot scout it. And she feels like if the other team cannot scout and they are less prepared than her, she is going to win. If the other team has no idea what way the Indiana Fever are going to play, they can't throw certain doubles because they don't know who's going to go ISO. Stephanie White would succeed more with 2 isolation scoring guards, with Odyssey and Kelsey going your turn, my turn. If you replace Caitlin Clark with Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White could run her system. Because you have other players creating, you've got 2 isolation scores, and even if they're putting up bullshit, the other team isn't going to prepare for you putting up bullshit. And it worked in the playoffs. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, everybody knows what Caitlin Clark's going to do. Nobody can stop it, or very few can stop it. But everybody knows what Caitlin's going to do. Everyone knows what Caitlin's capable of. Everybody knows what Caitlin wants to do. She wants to go. And that makes Stephanie White uncomfortable. Stephanie White is trying to win a chess match, whereas her best player is trying to blitzkrieg the opponent. Stephanie White is trying to win the baseline, play on the baseline, and win 20-shot rallies. Stephanie White or Caitlin Clark is trying to serve volley with a freaking Ivo Karlovic serve. You can win both ways. Both ways are more than good enough to win. But it's 2 different philosophies. And the problem is, Caitlin Clark being predictable is a flaw, according to Stephanie White. So what Stephanie White's trying to do is mold Caitlin Clark into a player that fits into her system. Because in Stephanie White's system, this team is impossible to game plan for. Why? Because nobody knows what's going to happen. But the big problem is the Indiana Fever players don't know what's going to happen. Everybody knows. Any other coach in the WNBA, that's maybe false, but most coaches in the WNBA would say, we want the ball in the hands of our best players. Stephanie White is, we want everybody with the ball in their hands. We want everybody making decisions. That is her philosophy on basketball. She is not out here sabotaging Caitlin Clark. Is she ruining Caitlin Clark? There's a very good argument, but it's not out of sabotage. It is out of philosophy. Stephanie White is trying to win a chess match. Caitlin Clark is trying to blitzkrieg the opponent. And what it is a huge, huge, huge thing. Caitlin Clark half the time, anytime this team goes down, by the way, or they're in a tough situation, Caitlin Clark's going to go rogue. And it can work well or it can work badly. It can work well or badly, because there's times last year where it worked badly. Caitlin Clark going rogue didn't work. But there's a lot of times where Caitlin Clark going rogue does work. And if you can imagine how much Caitlin Clark succeeds when going rogue, could you imagine how much Caitlin Clark would succeed if instead of having to go rogue, a system was built around her strengths. And that's where the problem is that Stephanie White's not trying to build around Caitlin's strength, which is her biggest strength is that, first of all, it's probably her mentality. Her mentality is probably her biggest strength. Her next biggest strength is her ability to affect the tempo of the game, not even the box score. She can affect the tempo of the game and speed it up, but her head coach doesn't want that. Because if you are a team that runs up and down, you are quote unquote predictable, according to her. Any team she faced against, her goal as a coach was to take away their first option. And obviously coaching as a fever, she believed that when she took away their first option of running, that it worked. But I'm going to be honest, the Indiana Fever threw away game 2 against the Sun. And the Sun were a 30-win team. The Indiana Fever were a team that, realistically, were not in the playoff hunt for a decent chunk of the year. And yeah, they got hot at the end of the year, but they were a completely inexperienced playoff team. I think it was something like 15 playoff games combined for their whole team. Like, the one upon her 3 rings. She faced an inexperienced playoff team who didn't really adapt well and were timid. And because of that, she thinks, you know what, I need to bring my style in. And that's fine as a coach. That is fine. But the problem is you are at the pro level in a team where you have a player that's trying not to be bigger than the program, but is bigger than the program. Like, we all know that. Caitlin Clark is bigger than the program. But Stephanie White is coming in, trying to coach the only way she knows how. And unfortunately, that style of play does not suit your best player. Your best player has gone on podcasts basically saying that, I knew when I hit 3 threes in a row and I knew when I took the 4th, Steph would be pissed. Your best player didn't throw a pass for someone for an open layup with 3 minutes to go in a game up 12 because you want to dribble out the clock 3 minutes to go. Tons of time. No reason not to throw a pass. He's like, oh yeah, Steph will be happy I didn't throw the pass. You want to rein in a player that is at her best when it is free-flowing, is a rhythm player. And it shouldn't take a genius to know you cannot rotate Caitlin Clark like a normal player. You can't. When she is in the I'm going mentality, as in, if she goes and hits 2 shots in a row and gets an assist, you leave her in. Because Caitlin goes through lulls of maybe 4 to 5 minutes stretches where she does nothing. She always has. If Caitlin doesn't take a shot or get an assist or do anything for 90 seconds, that's when you sub her off. Not mid-run. Because, the spreadsheet said she should come off at this time. You can give her those same minutes. You can give her less minutes. But you not knowing when to sub them on, not knowing your player personnel, how she plays, when to sub her off, when to sub her on. When random fans know, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is bad. This is really bad. And yes, Stephanie White's a much better basketball coach than any of us. There's a big difference. It's a lot easier to spot flaws in coaching when you are on the sideline than it is to make those decisions in real time. But you're paid over $1 million a year to make those decisions in real time.